call to order the Village of Oxford Planning Commission meeting this Tuesday, February 7th, 2023. If we'd all rise and pay respects to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Madam Secretary, if you please call the roll.
Justin Ballard.
Here.
Scott Flynn.
Here.
Maureen Hellman.
Yes.
Michelle McClellan.
Here.
John Knoll.
Here.
Leslie Pilak.
Here.
All right, excellent. So here, do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve this evening's agenda dated February 7th, 2023.
Support.
So we have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, excellent. We have approved agenda for tonight. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes December 20th, 2022?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes dated December 20th, 2022.
All those in favor?
I'll
Aye.
support first before you vote. Was there
Yes.
support?
I'll support was mentioned.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm quickly running through this stuff. I thought
I appreciate that.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Now brings us down to correspondence. Madam Secretary, do we have any new correspondence?
No, we do not.
All right, so seeing no new correspondence, anyone in the public that has or wants to make public comment that's not related to the agenda tonight? All right, seeing none, this takes us now to new business. New business, the election of officials. So there's a couple things related to this one here, and it has to do with, let's say, our bylaws. First of all, it's every year we need to elect our officials or reappoint the existing officials. The other thing is, based on our bylaws, the chair can only be chair or any position for 3 consecutive years, and we have to have someone new. So in this case, this is my 3rd consecutive year, so I have to step down from chair. So we'll have to talk and discuss who would like to become chair, volunteer, and then also vice chair as well.
I'll nominate Jonathan Knoll as chairperson.
That's we need one more thing we need to discuss related to this, and it's related to our bylaws specifically, and it's kind of related to John. In this, in the bylaws, so it's basically Article 3, Section 1. It's membership composition. And in it, it says, a voted appointed member shall not, this is the village bylaw specifically, just specifically for the bylaws that we have, it's not the state. And these bylaws were put into effect 2018 and approved by village council. So what this stated is, a voting appointed member shall not be an employee of the village or hold another municipal office except that one of the appointed members shall be an exacto member of a zoning board of appeals, and up to 2 of the appointed members may be a member of the Oxford Downtown Development Authority. So the key word here is municipal office. And so this is where John is with another municipal office through the township. Is that correct? Okay, so I was stating that correctly. So we as a commission need to maybe discuss and talk about potentially removing that very specific wording. And kind of where I'm taking this is, this was drafted and approved in 2018. We had another chairman and another member that was on the commission that whole time that also was part of a municipal office as well. So it is just an extension to John here on the village is also an extension for the township as well. If that makes sense. So
May I speak?
yeah, please, if you would. I was getting there, Joe.
All right, oh, you're fine. All right,
Commissioners, let me apologize, because I just noticed this today. I was going through everything, looking at chair, vice chair positions and all that, cross-reference it with our bylaws and the Michigan Planning and Enabling Act. Michigan Planning and Enabling Act doesn't have this restriction, it's our bylaws that do. Planning and Enabling Act allows us to have, based on our population, up to 2 non-residents. John's non-resident, as far as state statute is concerned, he's fine. It's only this one aspect of our bylaws that have that restriction in it. It's over, so it's more restricted than the state statute. Your options are to amend it, perhaps. You guys could choose to amend that or take the restriction out. We already have a vacancy. We don't have people beating down our door. I came on in 2017. Drew Benson worked with the Planning Commission for this, updated these, council approved them. Jack Curtis was on when I got here as a member of the township board. I never even noticed this part of it until today. And so I reached out to Justin, and I was gonna call John, I was gonna speak to him before the meeting. So that's kind of where it's at. The other thing that came to light today too is I went back when cross-referencing the Planning and Enabling Act. Planning and Enabling Act has, an ex officio member of the Planning Commission cannot be the chair. You're ex officio from the council, you're ex officio from the zoning board of appeals. Well, neither of you are eligible to be chair either. So the group narrows.
So this issue about holding another municipal office, is that just for a chair position or to be even
On
on
the Planning Commission.
the planning commission? Thank
So
you.
it would be,
If we don't amend that, he won't
and
be able
why,
to serve.
what was the reasoning? Do we
I have
know?
no idea. I don't know if that was in there prior to the 2018. I didn't look at to see if that was added in 2018. I doubt it. I think it was probably already there. They tweaked a few things around it. I can't recall at the moment. I mean, it's been a while.
You know, paranoia is a beautiful thing. I would just say, that's why it's there. It probably came from council, or it started at council level and filtered down to the planning commission. And I would have to look back,
Yeah, I'd have to look and see what bylaws were prior to that. I don't know if it was added.
and
in
who was
18.
on different commissions, and
Yeah.
you kind of get a feel of why they did things, and,
Well, it's to deal with conflict of interest issues, obviously.
correct.
That's exactly my thought, Leslie, and we would be purely speculating as to, without documented meeting minutes of rationales to why that was amended, we'd be speculating. But clearly, it's based on concerns over conflict of interest.
So I would think tonight, we're not gonna make John walk the plank or anything, but I would think choosing him as chair would definitely not be the right way to go. Because if nothing else, he's ex officio member from the township board to here, just like you're an ex officio member from council to here, you're ex officio member from ZBA to here. So even in that same vein, even if he was allowed, he would probably have the same kind of a, because again, conflict of interest, ZBA council members. So it's the residents at large or whatever that are left over to fill the chair position. Now, it doesn't, even the state statute only talks about ex officios being a chair, it doesn't say anything about being a vice chair or secretary. So it's only the chair that the state statute speaks to as well.
So we are down to who, based on that, would be eligible?
You.
It's got,
Scott.
Scott,
For the chair,
for chair,
yeah,
For chair.
vice could be
and
any of us.
And you.
I would like to say I've already spoken to Leslie, who doesn't feel her current position at work would allow her the time to be the chairperson. So I'll make a motion to appoint Scott.
Is this open for comment now?
It's not.
Could I make a comment?
I mean,
It's not proper, probably, in the motion,
Go ahead.
if you can support. The other issue is, a person can be as many terms as chair as they wish, except no more than 3 consecutive. You can be 3 years as chair, 1 year off, 3 years as chair, 1 year off, 3 years, and that cycle could go on and on and on and on and on. You could be on it for 30 years and be chair for like 26 of them, or whatever. That restriction is in there for one reason or another. If you remove that restriction, then that would give you more flexibility as well. That's one option to consider. I know you like the rotation, I think it's good.
I've always liked the idea of letting everybody get a chance to do it. It gives you different perspectives. The meetings are run differently. I think Justin's done a great job, but he's gotta go.
So, scenario, And I think one time you had talked about you with your work and you're maybe not available as much. Scott may have the same thing, I'm not sure.
Don't care.
If they've been chair, if they're not here, then Justin could be the vice chair and play second chair, so to speak. So, that's all.
One other thing just to point out, I think is probably that when it says, or hold another municipal office, in my experience, that might have been just a slightly inaccurate wording, because they might have intended to say another village municipal office, rather than a township office. But we have to go with what the language is right now, and it would be best to clean it up, to get rid of that. But that might have been one of the things that,
Yeah.
you know, once again, not to mind read when they actually did this, but I think the intent was to allay any conflict of interest in the village standpoint. If the person is
Well, the planning name already speaks to other municipal offices within the same municipality, how you can only have so many council members on here. The state statute already speaks to that.
right.
So I lean more towards they meant outside, because you could have non-residents on your board.
Do we have any applicants for the open position?
No, ma'am.
Can we get another bump in the Oxford leader? And maybe the cable commission could put out something that we're looking for, planning commissioners.
I have spoke with a couple of potentials that that have shown a little bit of interest, that I have tried to reach out to specifically, and so waiting on some feedback. Also looking at talking with Kelsey specifically about I believe that there's 5 applicants for the council specifically, and so with that, hopefully, you know, usually if somebody doesn't make the council, we also make the recommendation of, hey, you do have interest in participating in the community, here's another option for you to do as well. So those are some things that we can look into.
And we've had prior applicants for the planning commission, maybe we could reach out to them.
Boy, I can't remember any that came on that we didn't have room for.
I can think of a couple.
Okay.
In regards to the opening, I think we're doing our you know, fair share of recruiting and discussing with others. Reverting back to the chair topic at hand, while I have some questions, and maybe we can address that in a different forum. If the commission decides or supports, I'm willing to volunteer.
You're my hero.
for the chair.
Absolute hero, right here.
You know,
Big ass on your chest.
there are three ways of doing that. Is we can, you know, take care of that today and basically say, you know, give Scott can say yes, I want to volunteer. Or you know, our second option is to potentially table this and just postpone it for right this minute until he has the chance or someone has the chance to really think about if it's going to work or not. And then during our next regular meeting, we can also address it as well. Or you know, the third thing was what was our third thing to discuss? Amend the bylaws as well. So I mean, there are options that we can do here. We don't necessarily have to. It's something that's sprung on you as well. So.
If I might just say that whoever would be joining us as the final commissioner is likely not going to have experience with what we've been doing, and so I think it would still be reasonable to appoint Scott because he has been to all, I think, every meeting and very, you know, participating heavily. So I would suggest that maybe we can decide tonight about the chair for the next year without having to get another member added in and revisiting it, because we don't really have a very large pool to draw from anyway, not for the chair.
And it's that hard, Scott. I mean, Justin did it.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you.
You have a motion, there's no support.
So that would be, I would second the motion to appoint Scott as the chair.
All right, so we have a motion on the table to appoint Scott as the chair. There's a second.
Does he have to accept it, or like, how does that work?
There was a
That's it, you have no, yeah, how, yeah.
The thing is, okay, this is probably maybe a suggestion, is if we make a call or a roll and we vote and have Scott be the first one. I think at this point, if he says he says no to that, then we can all make judgment calls based on that. How do you?
meeting.
I mean, at the end of the
Just take a vote, Justin.
Okay, take,
You made a comment, just to
Yeah.
vet this out now. If I say no, in what time period? After the fact, right now? I mean,
you're on the hot seat, brother.
no, I put myself out there, right, knowing that the potential or the candidate pool, if you will, is limited. Leslie and I did have a chance to speak very briefly on this point, and I understand her position. There's an obvious need for someone to become the chair.
Yep.
I'm willing to do so.
Perfect.
Not blind, but,
Sure.
so somewhat, you and I will be able to work together on that minimizes my concerns in the ability to fill
Yeah, definitely.
the shoes.
Yeah.
So I'm in support.
Okay.
We appointed Douglas when he was on vacation. I'm not
All right, Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
Flynn,
Yes.
Ballard,
Yes.
Knoll,
Yes.
McClellan,
Yes.
Helmut,
Yes,
Pilot.
Yes.
All right, excellent. We have a new chair.
congratulations. Sucker.
All right, so also at this point in time, we have to elect a vice chair as well. So in this case,
Does he have the gavel over now?
what's that?
I don't know, it's not clear. You appoint your chair, I think once the chair's meeting, I don't think it changes in the middle of the meeting, I don't think that's good practice.
Okay.
But it's not ever clear that I've seen it.
Leslie, you've been vice chair before, you will continue that.
I am willing to continue as vice chair, if there is no other candidate interested in being vice chair.
If you need me,
She can't.
is she already
Her
3
third-
years?
yes,
Okay,
that's
so
Oh,
she's,
so I'm in my third.
Oh, I thought it only spoke to the chair.
It said any
Oh,
office.
Okay.
Yeah, it does,
Oh,
doesn't it?
okay, well,
Doesn't it?
that.
So that leaves,
bad.
it leaves.
Then I'm gonna
it.
go ahead and make
it-
All right,
a
which
motion
is
to
okay.
appoint Justin.
I don't mind doing it, you know, and this way, you know, there's something that we talked about where should your business meetings and should your vacancy, I can easily
Fair.
take care of that, so. If you guys still want me, I would be happy to do that.
I made that motion.
I'll support.
Okay, so we have a motion and a support. Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
Ballard,
Yes.
Knoll,
Yes.
McClellan,
Yes.
Flynn,
Yes.
Pilot,
Yes.
Helmut.
Yes.
All right, excellent. So we have now made we have got that taken care of for the election of.
That was
the-
exhausting.
Oh, man. Well, I think it's just a really unique situation with what we kind of have and how things
Well, and
are.
how few
Who-
people
yeah.
too, I mean, that makes it.
Okay, this brings us now to the new business, sign permitted application for the Oxford Bike Shop at 18 North Washington. Mario, if you please help us out.
Yes.
Not right this second, no.
So this is an application to install one internally illuminated wall sign for the Oxford Bike Shop. The sign would be located on the building's east elevation, so facing the rear parking lot. The proposed wall sign does meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance, maximum allowed size and location. Those are consistent and compliant with the ordinance. However, and just as a note, the applicant does promote a projecting sign, and the requested projecting sign meets all ordinance requirements as well, and does not require planning commission review. However, the proposed sign is, as I mentioned, is an internally illuminated sign, and the ordinance requires planning commission review, design review. This sign is an aluminum oval with an acrylic faceplate that will be internally backlit by LED light modules. And this design is a common style of signage. It's even though in the terms of the industry, they still call it a box sign because you have a shape that has internal components, and then the external signage is on the face. So this backlit illumination of an acrylic face, it can have various levels of illumination just based on the colors and graphics on the front. And as proposed, it's going to be have a dark colored graphics, mention the trees on a tan field. And then it's going to have a horizontal white band. So the sign, since the sign will be facing the rear parking lot, there'll be minimal impact to glare. However, there is one residence in the rear end of the parking lot. So we would recommend that a dimmer be installed. still to control the sign's luminance level. So we would recommend granting sign approval contingent upon the installation of the bill.
Any questions?
I do.
Go ahead, Mo.
What's this 164 by 60?
On the oval sign.
Oh, never mind, that's the dumpster. Is that what they're measuring there? It's a dumpster.
No, it looks like they're measuring the space of the window.
Yes.
Or the archway.
I can't even see the window.
Isn't that measurement of the
The
archway?
dimensions of the archway.
I don't have those glasses on.
Archway.
I think it's a beautiful sign. But I would question if the projecting portion meets our projecting sign ordinance size.
Pretty small.
Yeah, it's pretty small. I
It's
believe
about
you-
5 by 5, I think, aren't you?
Mhm.
On a projecting sign in the rear.
The projecting sign is actually gonna be on the Washington Street frontage.
Are there any other signs on the building?
Not to my knowledge, no.
I think you can have both also.
Yeah, you can
The
also
wall
have,
sign is limited.
right, you can have a wall sign on the frontage that's on Washington Street too. And then projecting signs, they're allowed to be up to, does have to have an 8-foot clearance from the street, and then you can't project more than 5 feet from the building, which it won't be. It's not gonna be illuminated, that is an ordinance requirement. And the projecting signs can have a maximum of 16 square feet of signage. So as proposed, it would meet the ordinance,
You said 16 square feet?
16 square feet. And that's 30 inches by 23 inches,
2 by 2.5.
so that's 4.79 square feet.
I would think 17 more. And like I said, it's a beautiful sign.
Couple comments. This is, it's on the rear facing of the building, facing the parking lot. One of the few that we review, that are illuminated in that, say, position. Normally, we're talking about illuminated signs as a concern on the Lapeer Road facing, in regards to the dimmer. Mario, your recommendation to include the dimmer is based on the residence. How close in proximity is that residence?
I would say it's at a minimum of 60 feet, is probably even wider, or excuse me, more than that. I can let you know in a second here exactly how. Far it is. Yeah, and so that's probably more like 120. Is there 2
Yeah.
banks of parking? So yeah, it's like 120.
Okay.
They do have signage.
Just across that's an alley.
Yeah.
Then-
Or it's on this side, isn't it?
Well, it depends, I guess you go on the backside.
Yeah, the backside, the rear.
Oh,
talking
okay, I
about
thought you
rear
were going
things.
facing it. Alright.
I mean,
It's
there's still
26.
there's still landscaping around the perimeter of their yard, rear yard. But it was just a suggestion, just in terms of trying to make sure that, you know.
Over by the dumpster over there.
Yeah.
Couple of houses, backyards at least.
Mhm.
I know we've continued to talk about the dimmer switch as a precedence in past illuminated sign reviews, and there's some mixed feelings on whether it becomes a part of the ordinance as a requirement. But in this case, facing the rear of the building in the parking lot, open question if we see the need for a dimmer switch, and if that's a concern.
I mean, from my point is, we've always have suggested putting in a dimmer switch. In this case, I would also suggest that we continue putting in a dimmer switch in this one as well, should we have, as we have with the rest of the illuminated signs. Any other questions, comments?
No.
Any other members' questions or comments? Okay. Seeing none, go ahead.
Who's gonna make a motion?
have a motion prepared, Mr. Chair.
Sure, if you would please.
I move to approve the wall sign for Oxford Bike Shop, 18 North Washington Street. This approval is contingent upon the installation of a dimmer control module. Total illumination level is not to exceed 100/CD/M2 from dusk to dawn. And I don't know what all this CDM2 is.
Candela.
Support.
All right, so we have a motion from Mr. Knoll and a second from Mrs. Holmesworth. Madam Secretary, if you please call, any other comments or questions related to the motion? All right, if you please call the vote.
Pilak,
Yes.
Noel,
Yes.
McClellan,
Yes.
Cowell,
Yes.
Flynn,
Yes.
or Flynn, I'm sorry, Ballard.
Yes. All right, excellent. So you have the sign. So, Walter, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Did that, you just said the wall sign.
Oh,
Correct.
Is that for both of them?
No, the wall sign is the only thing that needs PC review. They'll be issued a permit through the administration for the,
Okay.
for the project.
congratulations.
Thanks, thank you so much,
Happy to be
appreciate it.
here. Thank you,
Yeah.
everybody.
Scott, congratulations.
If anybody needs bikes, come on my way, I'll give it to you.
All right, thanks.
All right, this now brings us to the Clean Hub Car Wash site. And this is the new layout design. So thank you for coming, guys, I appreciate it. Mario, if you'd please start us off.
Yeah. So the Clean Hub Car Wash, just briefly summarize the past, is that it has been granted site plan approval already, and it has received a variance from the zoning's requirements, zoning ordinance's rear yard location requirement for vacuuming stations. The variance allows them to not require them to put the vacuuming in the rear yard. And so the applicant has chosen to change their lot split configuration, and as a result, it's shifting the location of the development from the north side to the south. And so this proposed configuration, we believe, will be a better configuration. However, there are just some minor planning related issues related to this. A minor one, just that we want to make sure that the drawings are professionally signed and sealed by either the professional architect, and the survey sealed by a professional surveyor. The applicant has already indicated they have no problem with that. They're going to be providing the stamp sealed drawings. Specifically regarding the car wash requirements, when it comes to vehicle circulation, the site still has the proposal to have a drive aisle along the parallel to Washington Street, and that would continue on the site from the car wash site northbound onto the vacant parcel that will be available for development. So we would just recommend that any approval be contingent upon the applicant executing a cross-access easement agreement regarding connection of the car wash to the vacant parcel at the time of the vacant parcel development. Similarly, when it comes to vehicle circulation, the ordinance does require that all areas related to vehicle movements shall be done on the private property of the car wash. This proposed revision will result in vehicles that are exiting the vacuuming stations to cross the southern property line and travel east and westbound on the adjacent property to the south. There will also be vehicles that were exiting from the bypass lane would need to potentially cross the southern property line and onto the adjacent property. So we would recommend that any site plan approval be contingent upon the applicant providing a signed and recorded copy of a cross-access easement agreement with the owner of the property to the south. With regards to the other planning requirements, you have my letter. Basically, they are in compliance with all the standards. The building architecture is very similar. There were slight changes in terms of the positioning of some of the windows, but that's mainly just due to the slight modification to the structure itself. They are in compliance with all parking requirements, the lighting requirements, and the dumpster is all in compliance. One other minor note is that within their landscape schedule, the minimum size for deciduous trees and for evergreen trees is not in compliance with our ordinance. So I would recommend that they revise the height and size columns appropriately for the red maples and arborvitae to at least meet the minimum sign standards. As mentioned, the site itself is in compliance with all planning related standards and ordinances, so we would recommend that any approval granted by the planning commission be contingent upon the signed and recorded cross-access easement for the northern vacant property, signed and recorded cross-access easement for property to the south, to utilize a portion of that for vehicle circulation, submittal of a revised landscape plan, and then contingent on any other issues identified by the village engineer, the fire chief, and other village departments.
Thank you, Mariah. Any questions? Go ahead, Leslie.
I just want to ask the applicant if, you realize that what you've done is combined all the plans into one total and then looked at percentages of that. And I believe last time you were here, I remarked that you need to look at trees as one grouping with the total there and look at the percentages with trees, shrubs, and perennials instead of incorporating them all. I do like the choices that you made, but I think you're gonna need to look at that, not I think, you will need to look at that, and you'll need to, for example, in trees, you have 22 trees specified, so you would need to, you know, add another, cultivar or species and make sure that you don't exceed 7 of any one type, just under trees alone. So you'll need to go down there and continue the calculations, and I would recommend approval only if that detail is attended to as far as the landscape.
Any other questions? John?
Just a note, Mario, they'll have to have another, a separate application for the monument sign.
Correct.
Is that gonna have a problem with line of sight for people exiting?
We do have a requirement for the clear vision triangle. So being this is an intersection with a street, it'd be a 10-foot clear vision triangle. Provided the sign isn't in that clear vision triangle, then it should be.
Okay. And then I have a question for the applicant. Can you explain this vehicle drying space on your exit? It's called a heated slab.
Oh, okay. Basically what we do, it's a drip space, so when vehicle coming out of the car wash, they're usually wet and there's a lot of water coming out of it. So what we do in our design, we use heated concrete. So this will not freeze or, will not flood. So just an enhanced design that we use, basically. And we use that actually also, the heated slabs, we use it in the entry, exit, and where we have our gates. So it's an enhanced safety feature that, prevent people from slipping and sliding.
Thank you.
Thanks. No?
What's the purpose of the bypass lane? Is that just for the dumpster enclosure?
There's two purposes. One is for the dumpster to get through. The other is.
Can I just?
You most certainly can.
Yeah, what is the purpose? You tell me.
Well, the dumpster's gonna have to get in.
I would like to get rid of it, if you allow me.
That's the only thing I can see the bypass lane doing is for the dumpster.
Well, the bypass lane is typically a requirement for any drive-through, so that way, for some reason, a person, either because they've changed their mind or if they have an emergency,
Great
they
answer.
can get out.
It's an eject line, basically.
Yes.
Eject line.
And I believe, if I remember correctly, it was part of the fire requirement for
Yeah.
trucks to come through should there be an emergency. So it was, that's another request for it.
Because once you're in the bypass lane, you're in the bypass lane. I just wanna make sure I knew what it was for.
Yeah, I mean, some municipalities request it, some they don't. Like just opened one in Shelby, there was no eject line. But it's different, every city is different, so.
Luckily, we don't do a lot of car washes, luckily for you. You're the good one.
If you'd be courteous and tell me get rid of it, I'll love it.
The dumpster people will like it.
All set, Mo? Any other questions?
There was no dimension, what's the width of the entrance when you come off M24?
So, what was your question again?
What's the width of the entrance when you come off 24?
It is somewhat wider, but it's an existing, curb cut. So the benefit, I think, is gonna be that when there's an eventual development of, if there's any renovation of the property to the south, they'll probably have a need for a one lane in, and then a dedicated left turn lane and dedicated right turn lane. Because for those brave souls that attempt to make a left turn out of this site, they're gonna be sitting there for a while. So MDOT would probably want it wide enough to have, 3
I
cars.
checked the sheets, I just couldn't find it,
Yeah.
maybe it's there, and
Well, it doesn't, actually, the site plan doesn't, I think, show that, the southern edge of that curve cut.
Yeah.
It is a little bit larger, but like I said, that's eventually gonna be a benefit in the end.
Yeah, I believe if I remember, visiting the site as well, I believe that it was the width of the, turn in, turn left, and also turn right,
Right,
so,
yeah.
yeah. All set now?
I am.
Okay,
Nothing for me.
nothing from you? All set, no questions, no comments? Okay.
Now that you asked, there were two, Mario, in your report, there were two, recommendations, items 1 and 2 regarding cross-access easement.
Mhm.
One for the north parcel, should it be or during development, and then of course with the south property, probably immediately. Those seem like, I don't know the process of what it looks like to establish a cross-access easement. Do you anticipate any issues or concerns based on the current layout of the properties and the parcels in them obtaining the cross-access easements?
So.
Initially, no, I mean, they might have already gone to
We've-
work to that, but
yeah,
just to let
this
you know,
We've already have, signed cross-access agreement with the property to the south. It's fully executed, it's all done. We just need to record it with the county, and basically, this is it. And then the other, cross easement between the 2 parcels, it's basically us between us. It's our property, so we'll do that, right away.
So you already got the difficult one done, which is
Yes.
gonna be solved.
Yes,
This one
that's
here is just
already
a-
done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
excellent, thank you,
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
John, any other questions?
No, sir, but I have a motion if you'd like.
Wait 1 second. Show, any questions, comments? All right.
I move to approve the site plan for Clean Hub Car Wash, 1535 Washington, property ID number 0427278-022, applicant API Keith Lutz. This approval is granted with compliance to the following: the McKenna letter dated February 1, 2023, the Oxford Fire Department letter dated December 15, 2022, Rowe Engineering letter dated January 4th, 2023, as well as their letter dated December 9th, 2022. And fourth, API's own document dated January 26th, 2023. The landscape is covered within those documents. Yes.
Oh, well, which document did you refer that to be?
This McKenna one talks about the landscaping.
It doesn't talk about what I just brought up.
Then I'll be more than happy to add, hold the thought, item number 5.
To segregate the groups of plant material into trees, shrubs, and perennials, and apply the percentages accordingly within those groups. And to utilize native plants.
Terry, did you get that?
I think so.
I got some of it.
Okay, I have, to segregate groups of plants,
Shrubs and
yeah, hold on, plants.
Perennials,
based
shrubs,
on-
and
yeah,
trees.
trees, shrubs, and perennials, utilizing native plants and applying the percentages.
Yeah, that's basically it.
So we have a motion on the,
Support. Or someone else.
so let's say, so we have a second from
Michelle.
Michelle. So, Madam Secretary, please call us the vote.
Helen,
Yes.
McClellan,
Yes.
Flynn,
Yes.
Noel,
yes.
Pilak,
Yes.
Ballard.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for coming together with a much better plan. It's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anytime.
We came ready to do the split.
Yeah.
The process goes here.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night. This now brings us to old business, which we have none at this time. Number 10, public comment. Any public comment that we have right this minute? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Consultant and administration comments.
I don't wanna say, oops, sorry about the snafu on the bylaws. You guys have to decide what you wanna do about that, one aspect.
If we wanted to make changes to that, we would recommend changes to the council and they would
Yeah,
form it?
so in bylaws, it talks specifically about how that process goes.
Oh, I didn't read that, sorry.
Yeah, the bylaws may be amended at any regular meeting of the planning commission by a 2/3 vote, provided that the amendment has been submitted in writing at the previous regular meeting.
Okay.
So, if you have an amendment to present at the next regular meeting, and then you could vote on it at the following meeting, and it'd be a 2/3 vote.
And it's your own approval because of your bylaws.
Okay.
So it's just,
these
you
are
get to
our
approve.
Tell me the process again.
It's, article, the very last section on the bylaws. They may be amended at any regular meeting of the planning commission by a 2/3 vote, provided that the amendment has been submitted in writing at the previous regular meeting. So you have to present it at one regular meeting and vote on it at least the next meeting. Doesn't have to be the very next, but it has to be at least submitted at the previous regular meeting.
In other words, so the public has a chance to know.
Well, and some of the
And
planning
you-
commissioners, if the planning commissioner's not here,
Right.
and then you can't go wham bam, we did it last week when you weren't here, you know?
Right.
Who's responsible to draft the amendment? Does it have to be formal? Or
I could simply send it out to the chair and you would send to the others, say, look, here's the proposal. If all you're thinking about doing is eliminating that one, again, you guys can tell me, you guys should discuss right now, I think, and give me direction how to put it to you.
That's what that was the one thing I was going to suggest is that we discuss it discuss it now, determine what we would like to do as far as, so that we have some sort of plan, let's say, moving forward.
I
Go ahead,
think, I
please.
mean, I think just given sort of like the limited amount of people who, you know, have shown interest in being on the commission, like we probably should get rid of that just to open it up, so we're not stuck, not
Stop.
stuck.
We don't
Just like
have
we're in
to
the
take
position where we're
Scott.
like, we have we got Scott, or else, no, I'm joking. I don't mean it like that, I mean, just like that we're not kind of, you know, just in that situation where there's more options and where Leslie can't continue, you know.
So how would you recommend it's worded? If you're looking at the line, voting appointed members shall not be, that line?
Yeah, so it would be, so what it would be, or what I would be looking at would be,
it would be removal of this thing, right?
or hold, the removal of a statement or hold another municipal office.
Or hold, so that's the only part that would come out of it?
Yes.
It would read, a voting appointed member shall not be an employee of the village, except that one of the appointed members shall be an ex officio member of the zoning board, so on and so forth.
Up to 2.
I think it's actually, the template is in number 1, membership composition, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, there you go, right, so do a strike through and or hold other municipal officers, 5 words, you can do a strike through, that's all you want.
Well, that's the simplest change, it seems to me.
Excuse me, point of order. Terry, how do we throw this back into our agenda? We're really beyond it in our discussion on our agenda.
Well, we would, meet right now?
Right
now.
Yeah.
I think you're open to discuss, I don't think you have to take formal action, you know, I mean, it's not required.
So could we take, with our 2/3 vote, or us, basically, we could decide right this minute about, let's say, about moving forward
The
to
draft
ask.
language.
Yes, we would like to draft the language. Yes, we could talk about it as far as related to next. Would we have to vote on that?
No.
Not this meeting, no.
Okay.
Because
Right.
what it is that the intent is to have something in front of you so that
Right.
you can vote on it, that you can discuss.
Right.
So whatever language you get in front of you, then you can make a recommendation, well, this is what we should do, or this is what we shouldn't do, and then that's when you vote on it. So it's kind of similar to how an ordinance is get in front of village council. There's the first meeting where it's just there and you review it and discuss it, then you sit on, then you take a breather, and then your next meeting you vote on it.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so basically, you know, we're just discussing about, hey, this is it. We will discuss about, then we'll actually have verbiage for our next, regular meeting to specifically talk about it, and that's what we'll vote for.
yeah, because
Okay.
you're under the village manager's report, you're just asking him to provide you some draft language, so you can discuss the draft
Makes
language.
sense, all right, thank you for that clarification.
As far as your agenda item, this is kind of something that you discussed earlier, but I think in its essence of time for your applicants, in essence, you've tabled it to now to follow it up, if that's what you want to read into it.
All
It's
right,
not
thank you
okay.
for that.
I think we're all just making this stuff up.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Mo, any questions or comments related to it?
Let's just go back to 2018 and see why this amendment was made.
Yeah, I
I'm
could
sure
find
there's
out.
gonna be some verbiage in there.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was a reason, not necessarily a good reason, but I'm sure there was a
And
reason.
it might not have been this that was
Right.
changed, it might have been just a couple other
Right.
things.
The same people maybe were like always,
I mean,
like
it's a weird
doing
thing.
the same thing.
4 years ago, things were different.
Leslie? Questions, comments?
No,
Okay.
My only comment as well, I acknowledge and agree that this language maybe limits the applicant pool. I still hold some concerns regarding conflict of interest and having others that may or may not truly have the Village of Oxford's best interest in hand.
You know, there's other ways you could make it, you can't hold another elected position outside the village, that would put Michelle in, or inside the village, and that would put John in. You know, there's
That makes,
all kinds of different ways you can go about it.
Mhm.
like that makes more sense to me, because I feel like somebody from the township obviously still has like the village best interest in mind, I would think, and, you know, so, yeah, I think you're right, like maybe considering something.
We have
like that.
options.
Yes, so it's something that we, you know, it's been brought, so we'll work to, correct what we have.
Yeah, and I would just recommend, or just advise you that, start with the requirements that are in the state law. So the Planning Enabling Act does address a couple of ways that's a requirement. And then anything beyond that really is more local, and so like to me, the only thing that might be necessary is to, the limitation on the number of members of the DDA. If there was a thought that the DDA would overtake the prioritization of the planning commission by having more than a voting majority on the
I think it's
planning
only
commission.
2, isn't it?
Yeah, it's only 2, so that's perfectly fine, but I think that's good to leave in there too, just so that way, if for some reason there isn't suddenly 4 members of the DDA on the board, not that that was necessarily a problem, given the size of the village, but like I said, just think of any other local things that you might think is different, just beyond the 2, because the state statute, you know, is intended to be a pretty good guide for the planning commission initially.
Especially in regards to conflict of interest.
Correct, yeah, exactly,
And
like,
incompatible offices is what they really call it,
right,
incompatible offices.
And it already speaks to the village council, you must have one, but can't have more than 2.
Right.
Electeds from the council.
and I guess the default would be that if it were, some problem were to arise as a result of, you know, voting to change this, we could look at it and change the language again, you know?
Yeah,
If it creates a
definitely,
problem, which
yes.
is what happened in 2018 probably.
Mm-hmm.
No, Drew happened in 2018.
Okay, all right, well, excellent. Any other comments on this? All right, so we'll move on to reports. Township Planning Commission?
I have nothing to report, but just to say, and I don't know if it's been said before, we do have a Taco Bell coming in out
I'm so happy.
on the Myers parking lot. And we have a lot of infrastructure projects underway, sewer and water, going primarily Drainer Road as well as out by Myers.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for the Taco Bell.
You're welcome.
And on that spot just south of Harvesttown, it's being figured out, is that
The
dispensary?
old Clark station,
Yeah,
that is slated right now for a medical marijuana facility.
Good location for them.
mhm.
Nice to get the old building out.
Yeah,
Building
yeah.
That's a great gas station though, I loved it.
In the day.
That was 15 years ago.
I've been here forever.
It was a forever gas station.
Yeah, that's
It's a great gas station.
ZBA, all right, DDA. Usually Chief speaks on the DDA, but,
Yeah, but they fired him, so.
all right,
So
so.
actually, the DDA went through their annual Main Street evaluation, through Oakland County Main Street, and another lady from Indiana, I think it was this year. It went really well. A lot of businesses showed up to give their feedback to the evaluation. I think they'll present their findings to council, I think, next week. I think it went really well. And they have the Ice Fest going on this week. Supposedly there's some ice statues set up downtown. Hopefully the weather
Wow,
cooperates.
good help this week.
I think they're gonna be blobs for the last week, but.
All right, thank you for, any commissioner comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Future business, Mario, 2022 annual review, 2023 proposed PC business?
Yes, the draft report of your annual report will be here for the next meeting.
All right, excellent. Thank you. So now it brings us now to adjournment. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, adjourn.